Good afternoon on a very warm day. From the KUOW newsroom, this is Seattle Now. I'm Paige Browning. Here's our roundup of today's top stories. It's Wednesday, May 28th. It has been a tense week between the LGBTQ community here and the anti-LGBTQ Christian group Mayday USA. FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino says his office is now going to investigate not Mayday, but allegations of violence against religious groups in Seattle. When Mayday held 2 rallies in Seattle this week to spread a message against trans rights, 31 counter-protesters were arrested. They're accused of assault and other crimes. Pastor Chelsea Globe with the Lutheran Campus Ministry at the University of Washington was at City Hall last night with them, speaking in support of queer neighbors.
People who are transgender, people who are sexual minorities are being actively oppressed, and part of that is from people within my own religious tradition.
Mayday USA is calling on Mayor Bruce Harrell to resign and apologize for saying that the group intentionally held its Seattle rally to provoke a reaction from the LGBTQ community. The FBI did not clarify what it plans to investigate. As this is going on, the Seattle City Council unanimously passed a resolution yesterday declaring Seattle to be a welcoming city. Councilmember Joy Hollingsworth referenced the Capitol Hill rally over the weekend that sparked arrests.
Seattle is a city that aspires to protect freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of expression, and the freedom to who you choose to love. This weekend, we reopened deep wounds in our historic LGBTQIA community.
Hollingsworth said the council's foremost responsibility is to keep people safe and said it fell short of that basic obligation. The resolution commits to maintaining policies that support residents regardless of race, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, and immigration status. A mini spring heat wave has arrived. King County has opened up daytime cooling centers for unsheltered people today. Today's forecasted high of 82 at SeaTac Airport was not expected to break any records, but it is about 14 degrees above normal for today. SeaTac's normal high for this date is just 68 degrees, according to the National Weather Service. The unusual heat could take a bite out of the state's mountain snowpack, which is already about 1/3 below normal levels. Temperatures are expected to return to normal tomorrow. On the immigration beat, the Trump administration has attempted to deport a Tacoma man to South Sudan, even though he is not from there. Gustavo Sugrero reports.
The Tacoma man's name is Tuan Tan Phan. He came to the U.S. from Vietnam as a refugee. ICE picked him up earlier this year after he finished serving prison time for murder and assault. Last week, he and other migrants were put on a flight to South Sudan. The New York Times reports they're currently being held on a U.S. base in the African country of Djibouti.
It's just a complete renunciation of our justice system, all in the name of this propaganda, this anti-immigrant agenda of the administration.
That's Matt Adams, an attorney for the Northwest Immigrant Rights Project. His legal team and others will now be meeting with the migrants. The plane carrying Phan and other migrants to South Sudan landed in Djibouti last Wednesday as a court battle contesting their deportation began to play out. ICE has not responded to requests for comment. Gustavo Sugrero, KUOW News.
Turning to earth and science news, first, a salmon concern. President Trump's budget aims to eliminate the work of 1,200 scientists who work in biology for the U.S. Geological Survey. That could have a huge impact on the health of Puget Sound salmon. More from KNKX environment reporter Bellamy Palethorpe.
5 years ago, University of Washington professor Ed Cloje identified 6-ppd quinone, a chemical in runoff from roads that kills coho salmon almost instantly. It comes from tires.
These types of chemicals, these tire chemicals, are throughout our environment. They're in our bodies.
He's been working with the USGS biologists and their lab to find a safe replacement for 6-ppd.
And it does matter when you have a team of capable, experienced people with unique capabilities to figure out the implications of that, the risks of that, and how to fix that. And the USGS is just a critical part of that team.
They've narrowed the search to 7 replacement chemicals. U.S. Representative Marilyn Strickland, a Democrat from Tacoma, is asking the Trump administration to reconsider dismantling this division. I'm Bellamy Palethorpe reporting.
In earthquake-related news, new research from the University of Washington finds a major fault known as megasplay isn't as extensive as previously thought. Seismologists have been warning the Pacific Northwest is due to be struck by a major earthquake. This quake will likely produce a tsunami that could strike the Washington-Oregon coast. Harold Tobin directs the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. He says since this fault isn't as big as once believed, some coastal communities may have more time to evacuate.
This makes it a bit more likely that some places will have a little more warning time than some of the worst case scenarios. That's the good news part. The bad news part is that it doesn't mean that the tsunami is necessarily any smaller.
The megasplay fault branches off of the Cascadia subduction zone. When this type of fault ruptures during a quake, it can cause tsunamis to strike the coast faster. UW researchers say these findings do not decrease the risk of future earthquakes or tsunamis. It's graduation season, and when they step off that stage, today's grads will land in a rapidly changing job market. There may be fewer internships and junior positions than there once were. That's due to economic uncertainty and the rise of artificial intelligence. That's according to Maya Jensen, owner of a recruiting firm, Seattle Corporate Search.
We're not seeing as many entry-level job openings anymore. It's definitely more on the mid to the high-level side.
Internship openings are the lowest they've been in 6 years, with the exception of 2020, according to Indeed data. But experts say new grads can increase their chances by learning to use AI to be more efficient and by boosting their resumes with additional skills and credentials. For more on how AI is changing the jobs landscape, check out the latest episode of our economy podcast, Booming, wherever you listen. A quick quirky note for drivers tonight. You're going to have 7 new options for decorative license plates this year. It's a topic the legislature loves to bring up, and they approved the new plates in the recent session. The new specialized license plates highlight Mount St. Helens, Smokey Bear, honeybees, an electric vehicle specialty plate, historical throwback plates, a car museum, and Washington's state sport, pickleball. That was only a matter of time. They're available in November. Finally today, an update from space from Spokane's very own astronaut Anne McClain. She continues her second mission in space aboard the International Space Station. On Tuesday, she had a video chat with students from her hometown. One student asked about the most challenging part of her training.
Being an astronaut requires a lot of different skills. Everything from physical grit, being in a spacesuit and training underwater is really physically and mentally challenging. And then the next morning, you may get up and you're going to a Russian lesson or having a test and, learning foreign languages. And then maybe the next day, you're learning how to draw your own blood and do human research on yourself.
That does sound challenging. The call was arranged with NASA by Spokane's Mobius Discovery Center. Next time on Seattle Now, we'll talk with consumer expert Herb Weisbaum about the real costs of buy now, pay later.
Well, a new survey from Bankrate.com about buy now, pay later found that about half of those they talked to of buy now, pay later customers reported having at least one problem using these services.
Hear that Thursday morning. And that's all for today from the KUOW newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Andy Hurst, and I'm Paige Browning. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. See ya.